you're going to have to go through all Pete's classically eats and check them off that you eat every single one.
Yeah, you're going to have to bring some to us one time.
Yeah, Snoogles would be good.
If you really find that you like them, you're going to start to look more like me. You're going to be a little less skinny, right?
Remember, too, like my grandma, she used to say, I used to laugh because she'd be like, oh, yeah, we're having dead chicken for dinner tonight. And I'd be like, why do you say dead chicken? And she said, because when she was younger, she went over to her friend's house and they were having chicken and she watched them kill the chicken.
What scene you just painted in my mind. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
You're going to eat meat. You got to know where it comes from.
Yeah, you know what? I'm not saying that. I'm Josh Duke.
And I'm Alex Darus.
And you're either listening to or watching Dine Drink CLE, the podcast, where each and every week we're going to be joined by cleveland.com's best and brightest food experts, insiders, and influencers. What do we got on our list to talk about today, Alex?
It's January. It's a new year. And with January, there's a lot of people trying to do better, be a little more healthier. So we're going to talk about a few trends like dry January and Veganuary. And then we're also going to talk to Peter Chakerian, who's part of the Best Of team here, and he's going to talk a little bit about classic Cleveland eats. He's been doing a really fun series, so there's a lot of good foodie news to discuss this week.
Yeah, very delicious sounding already.
Yeah, and today we're joined by Marc Bona, who's going to be talking with us a little bit about these dry January and Veganuary trends. So, Marc, I guess to get started with the food, why don't you tell us a little bit about Veganuary and what it is?
Yeah, Veganuary actually has been around about 10 years. It started in Great Britain, and I have to admit, I hadn't heard of it until several months ago.
Yeah.
It's for the vegan curious folks. Of course, being a vegan is one step above being a vegetarian. It's no meat, but it's also no animal products. It's for people who are either health conscious and or they oppose inhumane treatment of animals. So for political reasons or personal reasons or health reasons, they can try this. So it is kind of a marketing push for January, just like dry January has become. To me, it sounds boring, but vegan chefs say that you can make tasty meals following certain guidelines and basically doing some research. And they say, once you do it, you lose a taste for the things you used to eat. I have a hard time believing that.
Yeah.
I could give up steak. I don't think I could give up burgers or bolaise sauce. I think that for me, that would be kind of tough.
I think the animal byproducts butter would be really hard for me.
So I think that's kind of tough. And they also say cravings are actually normal for those older foods after you do about 10 days of this type of a diet.
Interesting. What are your tips for somebody who maybe is interested in trying out this Veganuary or even if it's not for this month, trying the vegan trend, for getting started and starting out on the right foot?
Yeah, I think one thing is, for dry January, you can just jump in and just not drink or do mocktails, and there's plenty to discuss there. But for this type of a vegan diet, you really should do some research ahead of time. You should definitely look up books, recipes, because they're written by authors who have had a lot of experience with this, and they will include a lot of nutritional content. This is really important because if you're taking out some nutrition of your old diet, you have to find a way to replace it with a new diet. So that's what you have to do is look for plant-based proteins. That's really critical here. Some of the replacements, the substitutes, actually can be high in sodium. So you've got to be kind of careful about replacements. Don't think it's all going to be healthy.
Oreos are vegan.
Exactly.
You could eat that.
Exactly. There's bitchy vegan homos, the local bakery that makes a lot of vegan products. I remember talking to the chef there and I said, so how healthy is it? And he goes, oh no, Mark, this is not healthy.
Yeah, well,
a brownie is a brownie.
Not at all. Yeah. And I know like Green Kitchen, they were a pop-up in Little Rose Tavern, but now he's got his own brick and mortar space on the west side. His whole thing is like food that you wouldn't even know it's vegan. It's mac and cheese. It's smash burgers. It's all of that stuff. But it's like, he said people would come to the bar all the time and eat and then say after like, oh, that's vegan. Like they wouldn't even know.
Yeah. I wonder how popular this is. Do we see like local restaurants really advertising for Veganuary, to try to push and get on this sort of trend?
I think the vegan ones, yes, like Cleveland Vegan in Lakewood, or there's the Cleveland Vegan Club in Shaker. It's kind of an easy marketing thing, but I don't know about other restaurants because I think a lot of it too is a lot of home cooking. Like people who do it, they try to do it like buy their groceries and do everything like that. I mean, if I were to do it, it'd be a lot easier to go out to eat, I think. But
Yeah, it's just such a hard ask. I feel like meat has just been such a pivotal part of my identity since I can remember. So I really couldn't even imagine.
I think you would be surprised that like another new place is Black Market Meats in Lakewood, and it's a deli, and they make like deli sandwiches. They use a lot of different ingredients, and it's not the same thing, but it gives you that meat quality. Or sometimes I've eaten like mushrooms, and if they cook them the right way, it tastes like a piece of steak.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I know my wife has been experimenting with using cauliflower and just dicing and shredding it so that it acts as rice. Now, that's not a meat substitute, but it is a carb substitute.
Yeah.
And it's with a vegetable. I wonder how a lot of those vegan restaurants are going to do, because the overall population, I mean, the part of the population that is vegan is pretty small.
Yeah.
And so I wish them the best, and I think they're going after a niche market. And I always think a niche market is good. I'm very for that, but I got to wonder how it'll be. But I'm with you, Josh. I mean, meat I try to eat a balanced meal throughout the week. I don't eat meat every day, but when I have it, it's like, wow, this is pretty good.
Yeah. No, and I think probably those vegan restaurants are grateful for these trends to be like, try it out, because I mean, I know I was speaking to the owner of Cleveland Vegan Club recently, and he's like, when I was doing market research, I specifically invited people who were not vegan to show like, you don't have to be vegan, or if you want to maybe try to do like a meatless Monday, you can try out those restaurants instead of cooking for yourself. But yeah, it definitely is like, it's not like dry January, like you said, where you can just drop the drinks and whatever.
Right,
You have to keep eating.
Yeah.
Like,
I think something like a meatless Monday sounds like a great entryway to just start to get your foot in the door of veganism and trying to really try it out. But
it sounds like you couldn't even be a vegetarian.
No, I don't.
Let
think
alone
so.
a vegan.
Oh yeah, no, I don't think either. Yeah, I can't. I can do without the red meats, like Mark said. I don't really need to do like beef, pork. I can sacrifice those things because they're not that healthy, and I still have chicken and turkey, But I can't. I gotta have chicken.
I'm gonna eat beef and pork. Like if I'm gonna eat meat, I'm gonna eat beef and pork.
I can do without the beef and the pork just because I know it's not the best for you anyway.
Yeah.
But I can't do without chicken. That's just where I draw the line.
The other challenge here, though, is, if you live alone or maybe with one other person, this is doable. But if you're part of a family,
oh yeah,
then things get really dicey if everyone in your family is eating meat and you're not. And that's going to put a lot of pressure on whoever's doing the cooking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It kind of has to be you. I feel like you have to do it.
How are you like a little kid growing up as a vegan? Like,
a lot of people do.
I'm sure
a lot of people do.
I can't fathom it. I'm like, how can you as a kid even have the like awareness to like know, oh, I can't eat this and that because it feels like there's so many rules.
I'm pretty sure in
veganism.
Paris's Veganuary story, she talked to someone who, I think it's Brie Makes Brie, she owns that company, but who they had cows growing up, and she was just realized that was on her plate, and she's like, oh, I can't do this anymore. Like some people it's your pet.
On the plus side, they would never have an argument in their home about whether you put ketchup on a hot dog.
Oh, well, that's true. Well, no. And then I remember too, like my grandma, she used to say, I used to laugh because she'd be like, oh yeah, we're having dead chicken for dinner tonight. And I'd be like, why do you say dead chicken? And she said, because when she was younger, she went over to her friend's house and they were having chicken, and she watched them kill the chicken.
What scene you just painted in my mind. Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're going to eat meat. You got to know where it comes from.
Yeah, you know what? I'm not saying I don't ever feel bad about it, but
not
like
bad enough.
Not bad enough. Like I've seen those vegan videos, the propaganda. No, I'm joking. But I've seen those videos and they really do like it shakes you. Like but yeah, not enough. I need to eat it.
Yeah. Well, I know one fad you are subscribing to is dry January, right? You're doing it?
Oh yeah. So, I am all in on dry January. I think it's today, the 10th or 11th.
Yeah.
10th. And I'm doing good, going strong, and I'm pretty proud of it. And I know you wrote an article to help people like me get through it.
Yeah, so it's actually another health trend that also started about 10 years ago in the UK, and it's kind of like a reset. People try for different reasons, whether it's mental and physical health or trying to save money or things like that, to not drink alcohol for the month of January, like a little reset. So I guess, Mark, what do you think of dry January this year?
I used to not drink for Lent. and that's
Oh,
even
that's good,
longer
yeah.
than a month. And then that changed when my editor said, Mark, we really need you to review beer and wine. And I said, okay. I have done it before. The one thing I've noticed is 10, 20, 15 years ago, in that range, basically you only had a couple of non-alcoholic beers. Now you have a lot more different, not only different beers, but different styles. I
Yeah.
saw a double India Pale Ale that was non-alcoholic.
Yeah.
I can't even begin to tell you how they made that, because that's usually a style that is high in alcohol. Because of the process involved, I don't know how they did it. There's multiple breweries doing this right now. In Germany has Klosthaler, which has been making beer for a long time, non-alcoholic beer. I think they've upped their game. They've done a good job. Go Brewing Company in the United States is also making some I really liked and some I was not. I just wasn't real fond of. But you do have the options. So
Yeah.
I think it's good if you want to lay off for whatever reason, you do have the options when it comes to beer. And I know you're way more knowledgeable about mocktails.
Well, yeah, there's especially in greater Cleveland, I've just noticed there's a lot of mocktails. I mean, we have Verbena in Ohio City, which is an entire bar that is alcohol free. And I mean, they'll make a dirty martini there and with no alcohol. It's kind of crazy. But I've even noticed some of the other like typical cocktail bars like Cloak and Dagger or LBM, they will still make these really dynamic cocktails with different ingredients. It's not just like juice or soda like that, but there's no alcohol in it. So I think it like you said, it's kind of easier than ever if you want to be able to participate in Dry January, but not just stay home the whole month. You can still go out and have the social experience without the alcohol.
Yeah, and I think that's a big part, especially for like younger people. When you're going out, it's like being in that environment with when everyone else is drinking. It's really tough to not want to indulge too. It's just like it's part of the experience, honestly.
Or you just like need something in your hand.
Yeah,
Like-
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, when you go out and you request a mocktail instead, or one of these other various options like a non-alcoholic beer, non-alcoholic beer, then yeah, that helps a lot. Just to have something to sip on, and even if you're like lying, say, yeah, I'm drinking, guys.
Yeah.
I don't know who
Well,
would
I
do
feel
that,
like
but-
that's why things like Liquid Death, like that water in a can, like it looks like a beer. Or I know locally, Pointless, which is like a local ginger ale brand. Like it kind of looks like a seltzer. It tastes really good, but there's no alcohol in it. And then when I was speaking with Carl, who owns Pointless, he was saying he would feel bad going to bars and wanting to go to open mic nights and stuff and just ordering soda water with lime, because the bartenders don't make a lot of tips on that. And you want to feel like you're included. So if you have like a alternative product that you could still feel like you're participating and stuff like that, it's kind of easier.
Have you noticed, and maybe you know this, I haven't, but do you notice a huge difference in price between a mocktail and cocktails?
No, and I think I was just actually rounding up some of the non-alcoholic spirits and stuff, and I know like this one brand, they make rum, tequila, whiskey, and it's $30 a bottle still, but there's no booze in it. So, or like I'm sure with the beers, are they pretty similar? Or
Yeah, now that you mention it, I think they are more or less. I mean, maybe a little under what the average craft beer is, but that I was curious about that.
Yeah, I wonder why that is, though. It kind of makes you feel a little bit cheated because, you get the feeling like, oh, I don't have any alcohol, but I have a lot of the ice, a lot of the juice, and all the other stuff.
yeah.
So, yeah, it's a little...
No, I think
Not
that's when
great.
it also gets interesting is like at Verbena, they have functional spirits where it's not alcohol, but there's a lot of different plants and herbs and things like that. So it's kind of like with kava or something like that, where you drink it and people say there's an effect, but it's not an alcohol buzz, I guess. And that I feel like, I mean, at least you're kind of paying for something, but then it comes down to, are you paying for something because it tastes good? Or are you expecting to pay something and feel something out of it,
Yeah.
Two different approaches.
Yeah, I wonder when, recreational marijuana is in full effect and we have dispensaries and weed, cafes and stuff, if we're going to have like a marijuana-less march,
Oh, yeah.
That would be funny.
Oh, yeah. Or like weedless Wednesdays.
Yeah. And
That's pretty good.
yeah. And so now we have Peter Chakerian here, who's going to talk about a series he's been working on that kind of goes over some of the nostalgic food items that we have here in the Cleveland area. So, Pete, welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about Classically Eats.
So I started this column in the fall. It's all about food and drink that evokes a certain feeling in Clevelanders, whether you've been here for a very short time or you've lived here your whole life like myself. Classically Eats and Drinks happens every Thursday online on cleveland.com and then subsequently ends up in the print version in the Plain Dealer down the road. But I've had a lot of fun sort of revisiting a lot of things from childhood and from my young adulthood, and it's been a blast.
Yeah, so I know it's not really like just restaurant kind of food items. A lot of it is like you have Swenson's Galley Boy, which I guess is a food item, but the Lawson's Chip Dip or the Mama Mary's gas station hummus. Why do you think it's like these kind of niche items that people connect with so much? So it's not like really tied to a restaurant.
The chip dip itself is something that I think a lot of people in this area grew up enjoying and eating. There was a Lawson's pretty much on every corner for a lot of years. And so I thought this is a fun thing to talk about and sort of revisit some of my own personal memories. What it's really done, I think, is broken the fourth wall, so to speak, to use like a theater term. I get to talk to a lot of readers about their personal experiences with a lot of these foods and their links to memories from their childhood and their young adulthood as well. So it's pretty fun.
Yeah, what do you think it is about Lawson's Chip Dip that made it such a standout here in Cleveland versus other?
Or to ask it a little bit differently, is it actually different than the other chip dips?
Well, I'll answer your question first, Alex. I do think it's different in the sense that it has just this je ne sais quoi. It's its own thing. It's it's still made with real ingredients. It's not super and love, of course. Is it wildly different from others that are out there on the market? I'd like to think so, but I think maybe that intangible item is the fact that memory is linked so hard to food. I think that's probably where most people would say that link is.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I think my favorite one that you've done so far is the Mama Mary's gas station hummus, because I feel like just growing up, I've always heard people in my life say, yeah, you got to go to the gas station and get the hummus. So did you learn anything interesting about that when you were investigating it?
That's just one of those things that kind of, I don't want to say bubbled up out of nowhere, but it was a family endeavor, the business, and they were selling it essentially out of a gas station, which they still do. And people got really excited about it because it's no fillers. It's all natural ingredients. They have all different kinds of flavors and varieties, and they're making it, several times a week, putting it out for customers to come and enjoy. You wouldn't think you would get great hummus out of a gas station. You think you'd have to go to a good Middle Eastern restaurant to get that. But if you have a family that has authentic recipes and they're doing what they do, you can sell it anywhere. Yeah. And I know that I came out with a stack, 5 or 6 containers worth, and pita and every other thing.
Yeah.
And you could just, as I'm walking out, you could see people like walking in, kind of giving you the nod, like,
Yeah, he knows.
He knows he's in the loop. So
have you ever eaten?
I don't like hummus, but the idea, the idea of getting it from a gas station is questionable to me. But it sounds like it could be a good idea. Might want to check it out, and it might be some legitimate taste there. But I don't know.
I was expecting you to just kind of dog that it came from a gas station, but no, a step further, he doesn't even like it.
I don't like hummus, but maybe I'll try it since it's a.
You don't know what you're missing. Staple. It's really good.
Yeah, maybe you would like gas station hummus. What about Swenson's Galley Boy? I know that was another one of Pete's Classically Eats. Do you like that?
No, I don't. I don't really care for Swenson's at all. But yeah, I feel like it's just loaded with grease. I don't like it. It feels like a greasier. No, I don't know. It just feels like too greasy for me. But yeah.
What about Pete? Why don't you tell us what makes the Galley Boy controversial?
Yeah.
Well, I think there's a couple of different things. One of them, I think, sort of speaks to some of what Josh was talking about there. People are very love it or hate it in terms of what Swenson's offers. But I think what makes the Galley Boy special is the dual sauces. So you have like a tartar sauce type sauce on the top, and then a barbecue sauce on the bottom of this double cheeseburger. And because of those two sauces, there's this sort of inherent sweetness to it. And I think people get confused eating a sweeter hamburger. It's kind of like people getting aggravated about pineapple being on pizza.
Yeah.
For instance. It's just this,
which I'm also not a fan of. So
Of course.
well,
there you
and,
go.
but I have a hard time holding that in one hand, and then like we love barbecue. And barbecue is a sweeter sauce. So like you go get ribs or chicken or whatever, and that sauce is generally speaking going to have some sweetness to it. So people don't get annoyed at that. But there are certain things that seem like a bridge too far. Pineapple on pizza is a bridge too far. And I think a lot of the readers that I talked to after that column went live last week, or I guess when this goes live, it'll be 2 weeks. We're really annoyed by that. So again, it's a love it or hate it kind of thing, but you can't get a galley boy anywhere outside of Swenson's footprint.
Do you like it?
I love it. I couldn't sit there and eat it probably every day, but I do like it as a treat, and it gives me an excuse to eat their potato teasers, which are awesome. They're kind of like these tater tots that have the chopped up jalapeno on the inside of them.
I'll take your word for
Those
it.
things are super.
Alex, what about you?
I don't love it because I think I just like what bothers me is when I eat a burger, I need to have ketchup on it. Like I just don't like the barbecue sauce part of it, but I don't mind Swenson's. I think what I've heard from a lot of people, especially who live near Akron and where Swenson's originated, is that since it's been expanding, people are like, oh, it's not as good anymore. Like, did you hear any of that, Pete? People say like you have to go to the original ones to get it, or
that's always part of the urban legend of anything that gets popular.
I was gonna say that too.
I don't necessarily know that I agree with that, but anything that stands the test of time is going to have people who are like, I was there when it first happened. That old man yells at cloud kind of vibe. Like, no, it isn't the way it used to be. Well, nothing is.
Yeah,
true.
So. Yeah, so I don't love it, but if I was starving, and I would eat it, but it would.
If you were starving, that's a very.
No, but you know what I actually really like at Swenson's? That is, don't they have fried bologna at Swenson's?
Yes, they do.
That I like at Swenson's because I like the potato teasers on the side, and I like their like drinks, like a Florida or an Ohio, like they're like two sodas mixed together. But so I do like it, but I just can't with the galley boy, I think.
Yeah. I know when we shared the story on our social, it looked to be like pretty 50-50. People just screaming, it's so good, it's great, or they hate it. It just was like, yeah. I
guess, Pete, has there been any of the classic CLE eats that everyone's agreed on, that everyone loves? Like,
I think universally the Lawson's chip dip was an agreed upon thing. There are always going to be people who take the other side of any argument.
Yeah.
Though. So Snoogles were the other thing that I think people were generally like hardcore into. And if you're not hip to what a Snoogle is, it's a pastry that is made by Kudrowski's Bakery out in Amherst. And it's sort of a happy accident that happened when the bakers there, the owners, were taking dough that they would use to make clothespin pastries and sort of intermingled them with cheese Danish ingredients. And so it turned into this really wonderful thing. Snoogles are very long, incredibly sweet. They have frosting on the top. And because they're such a long, thin piece of pastry, you can dip them in your coffee if you feel so inclined. So
yeah, no, I love Snoogles. I haven't met anyone who doesn't love a Snoogle. So have you ever had one, Josh?
I have not, but it does sound good. It sounds right up my alley, actually.
You would eat that?
Yeah.
Wow, that's a surprise.
Not really. I like sweets,
Yeah.
I like my sweets.
There's
nothing offensive about that one.
Picky eater.
You know what? I kind of am.
Yeah.
I kind of am.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I feel like I'm pretty basic. Like, I just don't like.
I think those go hand in hand.
Oh, I guess so. Yeah, you're right.
So, no, you're going to have to go through all Pete's classic CLE eats and check them off that you eat every single one.
Yeah, you're going to have to bring some to us one time.
Yeah, Snoogles would be good.
If you really find that you like them, you're going to start to look more like me. You're going to be a little less skinny, right? So, put on a few of your winter pounds, I guess.
Yeah, I guess I'll just make a Veganuary later in the year. And I'll
you're not drinking so you can eat you took the alcohol out.
That's true. But, I don't want to replace it with other things that are bad.
To each his own.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for listening. This has been Dine Drink CLE, the podcast. We really appreciate you.
Yeah, and make sure you subscribe and like our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever podcast platform you use to listen to Dine Drink CLE. Make sure to follow us on Instagram at DineDrinkCLE and subscribe to our newsletter at cleveland.com/newsletters. Thank you.